What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is gonna be your Queen Sugar review, season 3, episode 10. So the episode opens up with Nova reading the chapter from her book about her dad and his suicide contemplation. And I don't know who wrote that. It was so well written. It was so eloquent. It was so vivid. It was so, I need to look it up and find out who actually wrote that piece. But while she's reading, we see what everybody else is getting into. Mr. Prosper is struggling. He's having some problems. Micah, of course, is nervous as hell, trying to get the spray paint off his tennis shoe and dealing with that. We see Ralph Angel looking over the paperwork that Darla sent him about the custody. Um, Hollywood. Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't get to that part yet. But everybody is sort of, and Charlie sees Mr. Prosper struggling. But Remy is there listening to Nova give her talk. And like I said, she is read beautifully. It's a beautifully read and written piece, right? So that's how we open up. Then we see Val with Hollywood. She's, doing her thing in the kitchen, getting her pies and stuff together. Hollywood's acting a little funky. He said he's tired and he slept on his neck wrong. You see him starting to take these braids out. He slept on his neck wrong and he's not feeling too well. But you could tell us something ain't right. Something's going on with Hollywood. Then we see Charlie with Colt. Excuse me, Boudreaux. Oh, excuse me, with Colt Boudreaux. And she's telling him that she wants his shares. And he said, look, whatever you think you have on me, I assure you, he thinks it's about some mistress he has. And he's like, look, my wife know all about her. Like, you can't blackmail me with that. Like, you got to come better. Charlie was like, keep your mistress. I'm here about your little shell company that you've been laundering money through for your frat brothers. And you could tell he's looking like, oh, shit. Charlie said, yeah, so I'm going to need them 10%. I'm going to need them shares you got. And he has 10%. She said, I'm going to need those shares that you have. And, yeah, there you go. He said, oh, excuse me, y'all. He said, I'll give you 5. He said, 10 is a little steep. I'll give you 5. She said, money laundering is a federal offense. I'm not here to barter. I want 10%. And you got a choice. Either you can help me take your father down, or I'm going to take you down. You let me know how you want to carry it. And she walks out the room. I said, all right, Charlie. So it's all starting to, the pieces of what she was planning to do, it's all starting to kind of come together. Ralph Angel is at home with Blue, and he gets a knock at the door. It's Child and Family Services. Somebody has called a report saying that Blue is not in a healthy environment. So 2 social workers show up with a police officer. And one is interviewing Blue while the other one is interviewing Ralph Angel. And y'all know how Ralph Angel is. He gets mad, he gets angry, he's getting nasty, he don't want to answer the questions, he's giving, short answers. And then at one point he even stands up and gets loud. The police officer is like, hey, sir, I'm going to need you to sit down, I'm going to need you to calm down. And of course Blue sees it, and that doesn't really help. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was tired until I started this video. And you can see that like I said, that Blue is upset by it. But Ralph Angel calms himself down, and he gets himself together, and he ends up going to go see his parole officer. Parole officer is no longer there. As a woman who's nasty as hell. And Ralph Angel's thing is, she said, well, when social services calls, he'll tell them the truth. He said, I'm not worried about that. Like, because, Ralph Angel's like, look, he knows I'm a good dad. That part I'm not worried about. I'm worried about how this investigation will affect my early parole situation. And she said, well, you're fine as long as there's no report. as long as I'm sorry, not report, as long as the charges are unsubstantiated, you're fine. But if something comes back, then that could be an issue. And, she's like, so is that all? And he was like, yeah, that's all. And she gets up and huffs and puffs off. But Ralph Angel runs into an old friend, a guy. He's a police officer, but you can tell they've known each other since high school or, younger. And the guy's talking to Ralph Angel, and he said, look, Ralph Angel, he said, nobody's going to take you from your child. Like, everybody knows you're a good father. Don't you worry about it. Nobody's going to take you away. He said, social services ain't going to find nothing. You're good. And then he starts talking to Ralph Angel about, he said, look, when we were younger, I was a pistol. I was angry at the world and I was always looking for a fight. He said, but it wasn't until I started taking responsibility for myself and I started taking responsibility for my own actions that things got better for me. And he's, in a way, he's telling Ralph Angel, look, he said, I have a rage inside of me, but I've learned that I gotta control that rage because it doesn't do me any good to be out here angry. And I think he was trying to give Ralph Angel some words of wisdom to say, look, yeah, you've had a hard life and some blows that have dealt to you, but you got to be honest about which one of those blows was self-inflicted. And you can't let your anger and let your rage make a bad situation worse. And so, they talk. It was a good conversation. I think it was a really good conversation that they had. Now, Nova's essay, or the excerpt from that chapter, they're calling it an essay, but I guess a piece of the chapter that she wrote about her dad actually was in the paper. It's gone viral and all of that. And so Vi, her assistant, gives her a copy of the essay. Now, remember I told y'all Nova needed to sit down with the family and talk to the family about this before she wrote it. Even if they were against it and she chose to write it anyway, at least they would know that information and they wouldn't be blindsided by it. Because just like Nova didn't know and Ralph Angel didn't know, Vi, whether she knew or not, because I kind of think Vi knew, but y'all know how old folk are about keeping your family business together. Like, you don't be out here airing your dirty laundry. So Vi reads the essay. You can tell she's upset. You can tell that it throws her off and she's not happy about it. And she ends up confronting Nova. We'll get back to that. Before I get on that, I just want to say real quick. So Ralph Angel calls Darla, and he accuses Darla of being the one that called social services, which of course I thought it was Darla at first too. But her reaction tells me, it told me that she really didn't know, and I knew then it was her mother. I said, this is her mother. Something just told me, and sure enough, her mother's in town. Now, we never get a confirmation that her mother was the one that called, but her mama was the one that called social services. We'll get back to that bitch. Vi ends up Vi confronted Darla's mother first, but since I started with her and Nova, I'm going to finish with her and Nova. So she ends up confronting Nova about it, and she said, what are you doing? Why are you out here spreading our family business? And, Nova was like, well, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Everything went kind of fast. She said, no. She said, you don't tell your father's business when he's not even here to defend himself, which is valid. Because she's taking something that Mr. Prosper said, and she's taking it as gospel, and she's running with it. Now, Mr. Prosper has no reason to lie. However, who's to say that his version of the story is accurate? And she's running with it. And, Vi's like, look, you don't put our family business out there. Like, that's our business. And you don't do that, and you don't get without your father having a opportunity to rebut this. And Nova says, but it's gone viral. I've gotten some really good feedback on it. Like, everybody's calling me, and they love it. And Vi's like, you don't get it. It's not about, I don't question whether you're a good writer or whether you told the story well. I'm saying it's not the story you should have told. And she said, I don't know what's going on with you, but there's something in you, and you need to figure it out. Now, I don't even think she know about the whole Remy situation, but she's basically telling Nova, you need to check yourself, because you really got some shit going on with you. She says, you got a spirit in you, and you really need to come to yourself. You need to figure it out. And it was almost like it was a slap to Nova. Now back to Vi confronting Darla's mother. Now she rolled up on Darla's mother. Now I don't even know how she knew the woman was in town, but she did. She went over Darla's house and she rolled up on her. And when I say she laid Darla ass out, she said, "Look," she was like, she said, "I know why you're here, Vi, before you even get started." She said, "Yes." She said, "I am." She said, you coming down here, y'all coming in on the fourth quarter of a game that's been played on. Well, that was my analogy. You could tell it's almost football season. She said, you was fine with letting us raise Blue. Now all of a sudden you and your daughter want to show about the Blue, and now y'all want to take over, and y'all want to act like Ralph Angel has been such a horrible father. And Darla's mother said, "Well, it was fine when it was you and Ernest, but there's just been some questionable things happening since Ralph Angel started raising Blue. Talking about him working all these jobs, and how he's got criminals on his land working, and strange people in the house." And she said, "But you didn't have no problem with all that when your daughter was out here snorting, smoking, and sleeping with whoever and whenever and however." Her mother said, "Look, Vi, I ain't been disrespectful." She said, "Whatever." Vi said, "Look," she said, "Well, Ralph Angel, Blue might not even biologically be Ralph Angel's." And that was it. Vi said, "Ralph Angel has been more of a parent to Blue than your daughter has ever been." She said, "Your daughter's been out there doing whatever she want. Now y'all want to come down here dropping y'all money." And she said, "Well, we can give Blue the best of everything, the best schools, the best money, the best opportunities." She said, "Yeah, how did your daughter turn out with all that, those best ofs?" Oh, she gave it to her. She gave it to her. I mean, her mother, there was no rebuttal. There's no rebuttal to it. And then Vi said, she said, "Let me tell you something." She said, "You have unleashed the wrath of the borderlines, and this is a fight you don't want." Oh, man, it's about to get... Vi gave it to her. So Vi done went and told the mama off. Then she went and told Nova off. I mean, she was ready. She was rolling the day, right? Excuse me. Then Mr. Prosper has fallen. It's not funny, but he fell and he couldn't get up. He called Charlie. Luckily, he had his cell phone with him. He called Charlie, and Charlie took him to the hospital. Come to find out, Mr. Prosper done canceled his surgery. He don't want to have his surgery. And she said, now she's calling Mr. Prosper's son. I don't know if she ever got in touch with him or not. But she said, "Mr. Prosper, why don't you want to have the surgery?" He said, "I appreciate everything you're doing for me, Charlie. I do. You know." She said, "Mr. Prosper, I got you. I got you." And he said, lady at the church, forgot her name, husband went in for hip surgery and never came home. He said, "People my age, we go in, but we don't come out." So he's afraid of having the surgery because he's afraid of what may happen with the surgery. And I have firsthand experience of that. That happened to my father. He's here. But my father went in with hip surgery and came out with kidney failure. Now, he had no problems with his kidneys, but so it happens with older people. And so I truly understand his hesitation. But Charlie's little friend, the nurse guy, he was helping her in the hospital, and she told Prosper, because they kept Prosper overnight for observation, and she told Prosper she would stay with him. And of course, Prosper talking about something, "You ain't got to do all that." She said, "Mr. Prosper." I don't even know why he argued with her, because she going to do what she going to do. But he comes in with a blanket and everything, and he sits there with her, and she said, "You don't have to stay." He said, I don't have nowhere to be. I'm fine." So I said, "Okay, getting them brownie points, bruh. I ain't mad at you getting yourself some brownie points, Um, then we at the school. The police then rolled up on the guys at school, and Ant, I think his name is. Ant ends up getting arrested. Now, they came to his house and questioned him. But then he ends up getting arrested. Remember, his bag was, I believe this is the same one whose bag was the one that actually caught fire. I think they were able to find something in that bag that had his name on it, or some sort of ID or a book or something like that. Because I can't imagine any other way they would know it's him. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it was something in that bag that didn't totally burn up that had his name on it. And that's how they connected him. But right now, that's the only person that has been arrested. And we see Micah with his girlfriend, and they get into it because she said, Micah, do you know something? Because he's acting real funny. And when she talked about Ed getting arrested, Micah was defending him and stuff. She said, Micah, do you know what's going on? Do you know more about this? And Micah said, yeah, I was there. She said, you were there? He said, well, yeah, we've been planning this for weeks. She said, so you mean to tell me that's why you've been so busy all this time? You've been planning this situation, you've been planning this caper? And he told me something, well, at least I'm doing something. You ain't doing nothing. She said, excuse me? She said, don't you dare question me and what I've been doing. She said, I'm born and raised here. She said, and I've been busting my ass the last couple of months trying to get scholarships to go to college so I can make a difference. So don't come down here to act like you all woke now. She said, you ain't woke. You don't even know what you're talking about. And so they kind of get into it. She said, you know what, I'm done. I'm out of here. She starts getting her stuff together. And he's like, no, no, Kiki, I need you. No, where are you going? Kiki was like, I ain't got time for this shit. Your ass out here burning up buildings and acting crazy and trying to call yourself being down. She was like, I ain't got time for that. So, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I got it. Did I say? Oh, okay, I'm tripping. I'm tripping. So, yeah, so there's that now. Again, we'll see if Ant going to talk or if he going to take a L or however that's going to happen. We don't know. We don't know. Um, Ralph Angel. Oh, we see where Darla talks to social services and her mother is there hovering and talking for answering for Darla, talking about some. I showed her Blue's room and and all this other stuff. That's how her ass was the one that called. But Darla said, "Is this my interview? Did you come to talk to me or did you come to talk to me and my mother?" And the lady said, "No, I came to talk to you." She said, "Okay, well, Mom, thank you. Can you just leave so we can talk?" And so the two, they don't show the interview, but it shows her mother leaving and Darla going to talk to the lady by herself. Because Darla, she wants Blue, but she doesn't want to destroy Ralph Angel in the process. I don't believe. And her mama could care less. Her mama don't care who gets hurt in the process. She just wants Blue at this point. So we'll see how that falls out. And then we find out what was going on with Hollywood. He comes home and he tells Nova, Vi, that he just wants to lay down. He says he's not feeling well. He's tired. But again, you can tell there's something wrong with him. So Vi starts talking about her day, how she had to tell off Darla's mama and she had to tell off Nova and the essay. She said, "Did you read that?" She said, "Do you believe Nova would say all of that and put that out there, making Ernest look all weak?" And then you saw Hollywood's face and he went in and he sat down. He said, "Today's the anniversary of my daughter's the miscarriage. The daughter he would have had with his ex-wife." And he tells her the story of, that she was 18 weeks and he actually saw the baby physically and he saw, his daughter being taken away. He said, some years are better than others. He said, but with everything that's going on this year, it kind of hit me. And I think in his own way he explains the pain and how there's some years that he just gets really really that are really hard for him and how it's just been a hard thing for him to process. And I think what he's trying to let her know is, look, even the strongest person can feel low and feel like this is all they got and feel like maybe it would be better if I weren't here. And it's not about being a weak person, it's about having a weak moment. So I think that's what he was trying to let her know. Like, look, don't think less of Ernest. Ernest wasn't a bad person. He just had a moment, which we all have. We have moments. So Charlie ends up getting those 10% of those shares. She gets them. He signs them over. And she's a little cocky. She said, your father would be so proud of you. I said, all right, Charlie, your ass better just take them shares and keep it moving for somebody to be in the corner waiting for you. And last but not least, we see Nova and Remy, and they having a candlelit dinner. Y'all know I don't like this shit, but they having this candlelit dinner in her living room floor, and she starts telling him about Vi and how upset Vi was, and how Vi told her, you need to find yourself. You need to come to yourself, is what she said. And he said, yeah, that's from a proverb. And she said, well, how do you know that? And he tells her the story of his wife and how his wife made him promise that when she passed away that he wouldn't stop living and that he would continue to be open to love. And Nova says, I think there's a part of you that wants to be with me to stay close to Charlie. And he said, no, that's not it. She said, well, I like you. I really do. She said, but what I feel for you is not worth the hurt that it would cause other people, or worth the price, she said. And he agreed with her. He said, yeah, he said, I like you too, but, I think you're right. And so they part ways. They have a moment where they hug and it was done really well. The cinematography of that scene was excellent. How they stood up and kind of had their back to each other, and it was very dramatic. But basically, they decided that they weren't going to pursue a relationship. That they just were. It just wasn't worth it. They weren't going to do it, which I like. Thank you, appreciate it. And that's where it ended. So we'll see where it picks up next week with this custody piece, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But that was tonight's episode. Y'all drop it in them comments. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Peace.